Hello and welcome to the DFS_PhD show for today, the 20th of January. Remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough. And gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. And hey, congrats if you tailed T Dot in the Discord. Hit a 5 for 5 yesterday. Unfortunately, if you tailed me, you hit, like, I think this one was 3 of 5, and I hit a double. And then but my protected play, I missed all of them. So I don't know. I always feel good if my protected play, I always try to make it like a tightly correlated slip or one that goes all or nothing, because then I get for sure the maximum protection as well. Today, speaking of, you'll see this is a spoiler for the rest of it, but I have a what if all of the passes didn't go to the same guy slip for Houston. I think that Stroud may throw the ball not 25 times just to Nico Collins today. Now, granted, he's going to try. They're going to try. You should have a lot of that guy. They're good today. Now, granted, also, I'm aware of the weather. Ooh, that's really bright. But yeah, so I'm aware of the weather. There's a reason why people are not, playing this game. Um, but I think this is a little overstated. 15 miles an hour, gusting to 25. That's not like what we were seeing in the past. It's not even snowing this week. And I think also last week it didn't seem to matter that much, right? The weather didn't like stop any of those games from completely, absolutely smashing. So that's my expert weather analysis for this week is whatever. Okay, so I got a couple different I've got disagreements. My disagreements are I don't think Houston should be that big of a dog. Like they're a massive dog this week. I only got them like a couple points dog in my head. So I boosted them to 24 points expected. And same thing with Tampa. I don't think Detroit defense is gonna like stop Baker Mayfield from doing some dumb like wow, like he always just throws these wild passes. And it's a guy you've never heard of. He's on the team for sure. We've checked for sure. Congratulations to everybody who won last week. But God, man, that guy was so far from my player pool. I feel bad, like welcome to the show. If you're looking for depth wide receiver coverage, it probably isn't this isn't the spot based on that I got wrecked that way last week. But to be fair, my first 10K win was based on standing on Marquez Valdez scandling uh, business, and he totally smashed. And yeah, that's how I won my first big tournament right around this time of year. So come on, mama, it's time. All right, so 4 games is a perfect amount of time. I've been playing all year. If you follow carefully, I'm playing a lot of Sims, and those are 3 game slates. So I'm very highly tuned to what's going on here. I've got a few different rules: maximum 2 Green Bay wide receivers, maximum 2 Houston wide receivers, maximum 1 Detroit running back. I think all these guys Saber Sim naturally is splitting the baby a little bit too much. You can't pretend like Montgomery or Gibbs, one or the other, isn't going to smash. Depending on the game script, now Detroit is expected to play from ahead. So I find it a little unusual that Montgomery is expected to be 12% and the Gibbs about double that because the expectation should be 2 to 1 the other way, right? So I'm going to be probably 2 to 1 the other way on Montgomery because they're probably playing from ahead and like running it down their throats the whole game. It's a boring thing, but I think that's the play there. Now, obviously, they're still not smashes compared to all the single down bell cow backs. So you got your McCaffery, you got your Singletary, you got your Aaron Jones. Now, the reason Singletary is projected higher is not that I projected him for 19.5 points. It's that I projected Houston to score more points. So that means probably some more checkdowns to him. Granted, though, that's not really what I meant. Like I've hand projected the points to the wide receivers, which you'll see in a second. So, but no, you know what? I'm fine with being over the field on Devin Singletary. I think he's a smash player now. Okay, today and tomorrow. This is a 2 game slate, a 2 day slate. Okay, so let's look at tight ends. Let's skip right over the wide receivers for you after previewing it like that. It's being funny. Okay, so I've got a few different things to say here with the wide receivers. First of all, I've changed a bunch of projections. Let's look at Houston. Houston's natural projection was like Nico Collins 18, Robert Woods 6, Metchie 6, Hutchison 3. So I looked up snap counts. I like to do it. Where's Houston? And like last week, it was 70 Nico, 76 Metchie. Metchie was out there even more than Nico Collins. Xavier Hutchinson, 43%. Robert Woods, 33%. Granted, it's Noah Brown got hurt, but then we can go to a week where Noah Brown was also hurt in week 17, right? Or was not playing much for whatever reason. And you had an equal split. Nico Collins, Robert Woods, John Metchie, like 1-1-1. And then like when you go back a few more weeks, week 11, 1-1-1 between Nico Collins, Robert Woods, and Tank Dell. I think, and it, I mean, granted, but I mean, like, it's not like all three of those guys are good. One of those guys was already Robert Woods. So I feel like there's a significant chance the field is not getting to that. What if he does spread it around a little bit, right? Like, the wide receiver 2 and 3 could go off pretty significantly for Houston at any given time. The dude can throw the ball and they can run fast. You've seen any one of them, like Xavier Hutchison last week, even barely on the field. I can remember two incredible routes. I don't remember if he caught either of them and if we all got punished for playing him at all. But I will be out there in the punished zone for playing a bunch of Metchie and Xavier Hutchison at what are criminally low ownerships this week. I don't understand it at all. I think these guys should be pretty highly owned. Given that, I mean, reasonable case, Metchie's going to be out there 60% of the snaps this week. So I don't know. I have him projected for about 60% of a Nico Collins, which is, a bit aggressive, but I do think there's a possibility that Stroud could throw the ball to somebody else. Now, okay, I've talked about that thesis. The next thesis is Detroit, I think. Yeah. Detroit had a similar thing where like a little bit too much focus on the main guy. ASB is great, but I don't think the medians for the other guys are high enough. They're just like, what are we expecting from Josh Reynolds and Jamison Williams? They're out there the whole time. Like I looked it up. Anytime I feel like a crazy person, I go and console myself in snap counts. And the snap counts say, you're not a crazy person, Evans. I mean, DFS underscore PhD. Josh Reynolds is 86% and Jamison Williams is 70% of snaps last week. So those guys are out there the whole time, like as much as ASB. So yeah, I think you've got to have high projections for them for upside. And so then you've got to cap it at like however much you're excited about a Josh Reynolds or Jamison Williams, because yes, somebody's gonna have to catch the ball. Okay, so but tight end is the next place where I have something to say. The thing I have to say is, what are we doing with Isaiah Likely? Have you never seen football before? Like, what is going on? Is it just we've got to make some sort of a smooth projection from when he's a backup to when he's a main guy? He's been like the highest scoring tight end every single week that he's been the replacement to Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is still out this week. You have got to have interest in Isaiah Likely. What is 7%? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't follow. I really don't get it. I don't understand the projection. How are you projecting him for half of, I mean, what is his like I'm shocked by this. Like how do I do my normal projections? I go like so I would go Raven snap counts and then I would go to whatever Fantasy Pros just so I have my consistent way I've been doing it all season. And I go tight end and I look full point PPR. Now, granted, I mean, like, and it's kind of game where like it's going to be kind of gross out there. They might do a lot of checkdowns, and that might be their best look. Number one, these guys scoring a zillion points, like whichever one of them it is, Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely, 20 to 20, 20 to 30 points per 100 snaps. And like, let's look at week where one of them is there. Oh, but that's the one that's the dumb week. Yeah, an advertisement, great. Well, I know we had some likely weeks in there. Yeah, so I mean, I guess he was still splitting it with Kolar, 63%, but still 30 times 63% is like 18, you know? So like, yeah, I got him at 16. I still think 16 is a conservative projection for Isaiah Likely. I think they're going to pepper him with targets. Who else are you throwing it to? Zay Flowers. I think the line is way too high on him this week as well, but that's just not part of a correlation slip for me yet. Although I guess I could do, yeah, I can hedge some of this talk with the GPPs that I probably wind up being a zillion percent this first game with a bunch of unders, because what if it's very, very actually bad weather or something? What if that all of a sudden matters? The one game where I've learned my lesson and I am not going to bake it in more than Vegas. Sure, that'll be the day to get punished. Did I have any DST thoughts? I don't think so. I generally and very rarely do have a DST thought. Yeah, the Bills are fine. I don't know. I'm fine backing up the truck because I think people are still not ready to fully appreciate the end of Kansas City. I don't know. I don't think they're looking good. 21 flatters them a little bit, I think, points wise. It's tough luck that these are the best targets this Mahomes has this year. I don't think any of these any of these pass catchers can get it done. I mean, like look at these guys who are in the other games. You know what I mean? Like all these other targets, like the guys I'm actually playing. Josh Reynolds, even. I mean, like, what if he was on the Chiefs? You know, like Chris Godwin. All these other guys are being underutilized by bad quarterbacks. And so anyway, play some Rashee Rice, obviously. But yeah, I'm playing much more ridiculous picks as always. I think I have Green Bay thoughts. I think I have Green Bay thoughts. Let me double check. I've been messing around with these numbers for a while. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have Green Bay thoughts, and my Green Bay thoughts were also snap count based. I forget if I still have this up. Let's pull up an old popcorn machine and go to snap counts, Green Bay snap counts. Thank you again for joining us during this thrilling video time. And thrilling audio while I look up Green Bay snap counts. They just got a lot of usage last week. Doubs, 70% of snaps, and we had him like not much higher projected than everybody else. You got to have him higher projected than everybody else. He's out there a zillion percent of the time. I mean, now granted, they scattered around, but him and Wicks more than 50%. Reed a little less than 50%. Watson a little less than 50% and looking just terrible out there. I don't know, to me. So I would expect, I mean, if it were me, I would phase out Christian Watson, who you're paying $1 zillion probably, and phase in Bo Melton. I mean, Bo Melton's been looking incredible. What in the world? How is that something to say? But I think it is something to say. And you got to think about it. You got to think about playing. I mean, I'm definitely more likely to play 2.6% Bo Melton at what I assume is still very low price. Yeah. Than I am to play 4% Christian Watson. No thanks. Or 9% Jaden Reed, who is being projected as like the same as Doubs. Are you kidding me? Yeah, he caught a few passes, like, I guess. No thanks. Doubs is clearly the wide receiver one in this offense. If anybody's going to catch a pass in this game, it should be him. Please, how many points per route do I get? That's the way I'm pricing these, obviously. But my point is, I think the median should be higher on the guys who are running more routes because they're just an option more often. They're an off, yeah. And so anyway, math. I assume the long-term average of these sims should reproduce that. So when you do that, I talked to the people from SaberSim like a few months ago, and hopefully they haven't updated this so it's no longer true. But when you buy it, what you're doing when you choose an average, if it's just slightly different, a projection that's slightly different from theirs, is you're biasing the distribution to a sub-distribution with your average or with your projection. So I try not to go too nuts. I mean, sometimes you have to if it's like their likely projection. But if you bias the distribution just a little bit, then you're just accessing a certain subset of the native set of sims. So I think that's exactly what I want to be doing here. That's exactly why I'm doing it this way, and that's why I like doing so much changing the team totals, because then you just bias the sims towards the higher scoring sims. Okay. That's about all I got to say. Can I break it down into some sort of a core? So you've heard a lot of a lot of loose talk out here. Yeah, but I mean, I guess I did also throw down that parlay, so that's not loose talk. We have, I guess that was a double and a 0.4x. I don't know. We're close to ish positive, mostly because we're tailing DK's picks and he's doubling up at least every night. So definitely recommend DK DFS, generally speaking, because he's made me a lot of money. All right. And also, like, there's just really good dudes in his chat, like randomly answering questions. So like BP Colonia is one of the best players in the world, and he'll just drop by and give 100-word answer to a extremely like an important question we were thinking about the other day. Remember we were talking about whether or not the maybe I didn't even say it on the show. If you look at the winner every night with the parentheses, the number shows what number lineup it was, and if they've left their internal logic just showing, they could have that ranked. Like I sometimes have that ranked, depending on the competition, by pre-lock projection. And so you can find it's a gauge of how random the slate was as measured by the guy who won it, right? So that's fun to me. I still think there's something to it, but DK was BP Colonia was saying that Some people leave it like that, and but you never know, right? I mean, like some people don't, and so what good is information if it's not full information? He's probably right. So I still think that people probably leave more. That's an unintentional information leak for some people, right? So I'm still going to use it as something of a gauge, but we understand that you could mask your lineups, and I think there's an option to like spray into random order, but I don't. I mean, like, I think it's more important that you put higher dollars behind your best lineups than it is that you mask from other people what your best lineups are. And I mean, whatever, man. I mean, like, I really don't think there's that much information to be gained beyond what I was trying to get at about a volatility metric, where like, if it's the guy who won's 150th lineup, it was a pretty wild slate, right? But if it was the guy who won second lineup, like when Mazwa won 100K or something last night, and Jesse was trying to be like, oh, stuff went so crazy, and I was like, I don't know, man. That's his second lineup. I mean, like, it's like a single entry guy winning, Yeah. Oh, and then it was like the 4K competition, so of course it's going to be somebody's second lineup. They only got like five. So my logic was immediately torn apart by it also being somewhat the product of poor brain. I'm not entering these big competitions, barely even see them. I do see a 555 today that I go, oh, I wish I'd won a ticket. I wish I'd won a ticket. But that's okay. Gotta accept the bankroll, man. Sometimes you did not make it to the Tournament of Champions. Do not pass go. Do not bankroll up. Okay, so yeah, Green Bay, I think I said the thing, but there's some picks here. Wicks and Doubs, they're in play, was what I meant to say a while ago. McCaffery, likely. Singletary, probably Josh Reynolds if you want to leverage pick for your core. Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess likely. I'm still bothered by likely not being everybody's core today. Like I don't follow. I don't get it. So anyway, likely definitely my core. McCaffery my core. Singletary my core. I think just like, okay, so what's the game script where Singletary getting hurt is like the game script where he goes bad. So you know what? Yep. I believe in him. This is the click where I get hurt. But that's when you have a choice. Okay, well, 60% I'm not even getting there. All right. See, you gotta let give, let the power go, and sometimes you are already optimal. That's always positive. I'm just gonna let this be exactly what I do and completely save it. And I recommend you do the same. Lock in those lineups. I mean, check an hour and a half before lock if we get some unexpected injury news. None is expected. And so yeah, just lock in those lineups and feel good. Feel good in the glory of the multiverse, man. There's some of those we don't know yet which universe it's going to become. And there's a part of the multiverse, as long as you put together some lineups that are reasonable optimizer and or hand built with some sort of good story logic to the slate, you have a chance today. It could be a really good day for you. So live in those moments. Live in the possibility before it becomes whatever dumb thing happens. And then you're like, wait, that guy was here? Who's Robert Moore or whoever the guy was, whose name I've already forgotten from last week, who I probably shouldn't forget because he definitely lost me money. All right, guys. So remember, you're good enough, you're strong enough. And gosh darn it, someone's got to win that money. Might as well be us.